advertising, brand marketing, and successful executive producer and creative strategist for folks like Beats by Dre, Ogilvy, and more. She is a Spelman College alumni, and she, along with her partner, are, according to Time Magazine, changing the face of beer. Welcome, Beny Ashbury and Teo Hunter.
What is going on, Dominique?
What is going on? Do beer and rain go well together?
Beer goes well with everything.
All right. Well, I first of all, let me say congratulations. It's nice that you're getting the recognition. I have, been reading a bit about your brand. So let's start with the actual beer itself. Teo, what you said you're a beer connoisseur, and obviously you're just not talking about your days as a bison. I mean, this is an art. Talk to me about what that means and how it impacts your product.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, let me say thank you for having us. One, I'm born and raised in Los Angeles. And being on 1580 K-Day is a dream come true.
Yes.
I knew it through all of its iterations. So that said, thank you. I think one of the things that Beny and I both really lean on, being HBCU alumni, is that we really felt armored to really take on the challenge of being one of the only Black-owned breweries in the country. I think one of the things that we're taught to do is to really focus on driving change in a climate that may not be the most equitable, the most friendly, and to do it with grace. Hats off to all of the HU and the Spelman professors and another alumni that really help us with that goal.
Yeah, well, that I did not attend an HBCU, but many of my brothers and sisters did, and that network is real. I have seen.
You're the HBCU of K-Day. Come on now.
Yeah, well, if we're talking about that kind of HBCU, I've had many. But talk to me about, in this kind, Beny, in this environment that Teo is describing, which is many businesses, but I think beer is, ironically, and liquor in general is very white dominant space. And you being a Spelman person and a marketing person, talk to me about, finding that niche and being able to brand yourself in a space that's not necessarily welcoming.
Yeah, absolutely. So out of 10,000 breweries in the U.S., only about 60 are Black owned, and that's less than 1%. Out of in the industry, which is quite fascinating, as there are so many diverse beer drinkers in the community. And I think our approach was to not necessarily just push alcohol, but to create a brand that had purpose, that had meaning, that had a mission, that was about community, that was about educating people about positive ways to consume alcohol, and not abusing it, which we often find sometimes in our neighborhoods. So for us, it was really important to create and curate safe spaces for people to gather, to have conversations, to spend time with your family in an environment where you can still be an adult and have a good time. And I think that was the most important part of who we were and how we connected with our customer in a way that I think you found most beer brands weren't doing at the time.
Mm. And that sounds good on paper, but I know it wasn't easy.
Not at all. I think one of the things that we used to our advantage, to be quite frank, was social media. We started this brand, or actually the idea of just bringing a more diverse audience to craft beer, around 2016. We really started by just really cultivating a community, not necessarily in spaces that were white dominant, but ultimately we would bring the craft beer experience to barbershops and to streetwear shows and do private events, to where we were able to do tastings and really showcase the product in our community in a way to where people can be authentic and not feel like they had to assimilate to the status quo. So that really allowed us to really just show up authentically and to ask for the community to do the same. And that was one of our major points of differentiation. So when we were able to launch our products in 2000, ironically the same year as the pandemic, we already had
2020. Yeah.
Built in. Well, we had an audience that was built in and that was ready. And I think one thing we can all admit is that 2020 wasn't the year where people stopped drinking.
No, that's true. That is very true. Well, you guys, you guys clearly are leaning into the blackety blackness of your blackety blackness. I mean, you've got a beer called HBCU, a DDH Hazy IPA. You've got a beer called Lamert Park Sun. And it says right on, you guys have a lot of beers. And it says right on the label, crafted for change. How is that, how is that branding Mama's Punch? I mean, it says Inglewood, California, in case you were confused. How is that working for you? And clearly you're not, trying to do some kind of general market dodge.
No, I think, oh, go ahead, Teo.
No, I was going to say, I think we have been answering an opportunity that I think has been missing in the beverage space for a very long time. Even though we lean into our culture, which we would say is probably the number one moniker, the number one thing that we do. The industry has used our culture for generations, but what we have not seen is ownership in these particular industries. We have the saying, be an owner, not an ornament. And that really, at a time where people can search and identify exactly who owns these companies, we have an opportunity to lean into it with our authentic selves. And that is such an incredible opportunity for Beny and I both, who have built brands for other people, for other ideas, for other IPs, using our culture, but not necessarily serving our culture. What we're attempting to do and what we're doing now is we're actually living and creating Black history as we build this brand. Yeah. And it's a super exciting time to be able to do that and to do it, help others do it as well.
Inglewood Juice. Okay, so talk to me about how we find this beer. It's beer season. I mean, Super Bowl Sunday. If I want to have Black-owned beer, at my party, talk to me about how I find this beer. What beers? I'm sure you're going to say we recommend all of them, but what beers would you recommend? I see you have it's on Drizzly. You can get it from Craft Shack, Reserve Bar, and Go Puff online. But what about if we want to pick it up in person, or if we are, just interested in supporting Black-owned beer?
Absolutely. I think the great thing about craft beer is there's always something for anyone. There's so much variety in it. It's not just one thing, which is so great, which is why we made it a point to offer a few varieties. So when you look at our core package, we have 8 Trills, which is just a clean, crisp lager, perfect for Super Bowl Sunday, or the dopest hazy IPA, which gives you tropical notes of stone fruit and guava, and it goes perfect with wings or anything like that. I think you can get our beers at Whole Foods in SoCal and in Northern California, primarily in California. We're also at Bev Mo. We're at Total Wines. And then locally in SoCal, you can go to Hank's Mini Market or Ulta Bottle Shop to get any of our beers. But for anyone not in California, as you mentioned, you can order it online at craftshack.com. That's probably the best way to get our beer sent directly to your home, so you don't even have to go outside. Just have it sent directly to you and get ready for the game.
You guys got.
And
Go ahead. Yeah.
And one of the things I will say is, obviously one of the biggest things that anybody can do to support us is to buy us and patronize our product out in the market. But it's not all peaches and cream, for our business. The best way for us to really succeed is for us to have a brick and mortar. And that's been a pretty huge challenge, especially in this climate, not only to find investment dollars, but to find Black investment dollars. It's sometimes difficult, especially in industries to where people have not traditionally invested in Black entrepreneurs in industries like our own. So it is a challenge that we're constantly faced with. The one thing that will help us in that challenge is for people to clear the shelves of Crowns and Hops Brewing Company beer. That helps us create a metrics and a case study for people to trust the fact that their gut is telling us that we're on to something big.
Crownsandhops.com is the website for the beer, and that you actually have a beer locator where you can actually find the closest place to sit down and have Crowns and Hops. I see Harold and Bells is on here, as is Post and Beam for those in Los Angeles. You guys, clearly have crossed your T's and dotted your I's to be able to be in retailers like Bev Mo and Whole Foods, which I know is more than a notion to get into. So, I mean, it seems that investment and expansion would follow, but it sounds like what you're saying, Teo, is that's not a given.
100%
no,
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Go ahead, Beny.
It's definitely not a given. I think, you still have to keep working. And I think that's one thing as an entrepreneur that you don't really take account for, is that you're always raising money as you grow and the demand becomes more. So we are extremely grateful and excited that the products are on the shelf and people are looking for them and want them. But in order for us to grow, we need the support of the community to keep things going and to potentially find more investment to really get our brick and mortar open and create a space where we can come together and pour a pint in our community. Pour
a pint. And it's a Black-owned, woman-owned, and veteran-owned business. You did 14 years in the Army, Teo. So, and HBCU-owned. I mean, I don't think that's a category, but it should be. I really want to congratulate you. Beny, what is Crowns and Hops? What does that mean?
Crowns and Hops is meant to... We did two things. Crowns is meant to remind you that you are always deserving of the very best. Wear your crown, own your crown is our tagline. And then Hops, we wanted to put that into the name as it is part of how you make beer. And there are still people that don't really understand what beer is and how beer is made. So we wanted to make sure we had that in the name so you really understood what it is you're drinking.
Well, congratulations to you both. And I'll ask, Teo, before we get out of here, for some beer pairings. I don't know if you do pairings like wine. I'm more of a wine drinker than a beer drinker, but I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna definitely try Crowns and Hops. So what's my Super Bowl pairings that you would suggest?
Well, I'd be remiss by not bringing our flagships back out. Beny, I think, nailed it. Beer and wings just go together so well.
Any kind of beer.
But we also have any kind of beer.
Okay.
But we also were fortunate enough to win a double gold Best in Show medal for our Slay's Stout, which is brewed with pecans, maple, and vanilla. And it is a phenomenal beer that goes incredible with deep flavors, with chilies, with anything that you want to go pound for pound with on flavor. That's typically how you want to treat your beer. But you also have our Pilsner, which is called Atrial Pills, is also named after our nonprofit that we raise money for other Black-owned breweries in the country. But the Atrial Pills is our flagship beer, along with the dopest hazy IPA. Yes, I said the dopest because it is the dopest. It's just something that you can find year round and is a crowd pleaser for those that are new to craft beer and those who are connoisseurs like myself.
Well, Beny and Teo, it's a pleasure meeting you. I'm looking forward to sitting down in your bricks and mortar when you overcome those obstacles. And for folks, I hope folks will buy black for their Super Bowl beer fest, crownsandhops.com. As you said, they can also get it at Bev Mo or order it online. I forget where you said, Beny, the best place to order online.
Dominique, I would encourage I would encourage everybody to follow
hold
us.
on one second. Oh, okay. Craftshack.com. And then, yes, please, Teo, go ahead.
Say it again, though. I didn't quite get you.
Craft Shack, CRAFTSHACK.com is where you can order it. And then follow us, please, online at Crown, CROWNSAND Hops on social media, where we always tell you new beer releases that we have coming out, events, as we do have an amazing limited release called Black is Beautiful that comes out next week. It is a 4-can series. It is absolutely beautiful, limited edition, and it'll be out next week.
Okay.
Solely, primarily at Whole Foods.
All right. Well, we're up against the clock here, but go ahead and say what you're about to say, Teo.
Oh, my partner nailed it. We've been doing this for a long time, so we double dutch this thing all the time. Follow us at Crowns and Hops. We love the likes, we love the engagement, and we love our community. So welcome to the Crowns and Hops community.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story and your beer, and look forward to trying it. And I hope everyone will support. Godspeed.
Thank you.
It is the perfect opportunity to call me before these candidates step in. 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyAudiomedia.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
Psst. Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? You know, my...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness from my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
You can do it all by yourself, baby girl. What's your name? Let me talk to you. Let me buy you a drink.
Spilled your drink? Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up spills quicker. And each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less than the leading ordinary brand. So you can get back to your night. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Hey, Miles, who you got in the Super Bowl?
You know what? You can't bet against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Same way you can't bet against Tom Brady, Floyd Mayweather, LeBron James. You don't bet against them.
Okay, I got you.
But everything in my bones is telling me Niners are going to pull it off. It's their year.
You can't vote against them, but I'm from San Francisco, so all right, it's easy for me. But
put your money against them?
But I'm not a betting woman, but I would.
Would? Really?
Yeah, I would. I mean, not that I, would expect. I would. I'm not a betting person per se. But yeah, 49ers all day long. But I don't know. I'm not an expert on this, Miles, but to me it seems foul that they arrested Mahomes' dad right the week of the Super Bowl. Like, couldn't you, hold off? And I don't know.
Wasn't it a DUI?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it was DUI, but he had liquor in the car with him.
Okay. All right.
I mean, look, I'm all for hobbling the other team, but that just seems. Look, if presidential candidates and other candidates get a pass for whatever it is, the Justice Department gives them a pass for a certain, I think it's 6 months before an election. It seems like you could give a quarterback a pass and give the guy I guess if it's a DUI, you got to take him off the road. But it just seems kind of harsh.
I get it. Right before your boy's big game.
Well, and you don't think that puts pressure on Mahomes? Or you think he's used to it?
I don't. At this point, as the two-time champion, greatest quarterback all time, talk been on the last couple years.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either, but it seems pretty bad. I don't know what if I was running a popsicle stand or in the White House or if I was the imaginary quarterback. I just don't want my dad getting arrested right before my big day.
Right. No, I get you.
It seems like a stressor, but I guess you could say, Pops, don't drink and drive.
You heard about the, and that says a lot about, I just want to say this too, growing up in Vegas, where Super Bowl is this year, that was a fear we had about why we couldn't have sports teams or major sports events in Vegas is because of those kind of after effects and the drinking and the club life.
Oh, I see. But that's weird because isn't Vegas with the casinos and stuff, isn't it all about that?
It is, but I mean, as far as there wasn't athletes running around everywhere, though.
Oh, I got you. I'm here for, I love sports, although I haven't had time to watch it recently. But I'm not a gambler. So, like, when I go to Vegas, it's the shopping and the buffets for me. I like the food there. They try to ply you with food and drinks to gamble. So I just take the food and drinks and don't do the gambling.
Mm-hmm. You hear about the coyote bit one of the players in Vegas?
No, I did not hear that. That is crazy.
Gotta adjust to Vegas, man. Vegas is not, it's the desert.
I mean, but now you got coyotes walking down the street in the city. I mean, we have them here in LA. We got coyotes. I saw a coyote walking down in Angeles Vista the other day. In the daytime. Well, it was like 4 or 5. So they're emboldened. I did not hear about that. That is terrible. But yeah, this is the country. It says an NFL player in town for the Super Bowl was attacked by a coyote at Lake Las Vegas. So I guess that means he was out kicking it.
He was outside where he shouldn't be at.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We're gonna go to Kent from LA. Hi, Kent.
Hey, Dominique. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm blessed. How are you?
I'm great. You're in my wheelhouse a little bit, talking about these sports.
Oh, that's right.
Patrick Mahomes is not going to be affected by that. Remember, his brother was in a big controversy. He has a younger brother that gets in trouble all the time.
Yeah, who's still in a big controversy, isn't he?
No, that restaurant or whatever happened there, like he's a big supporter. That's going to go away. He is not going to be affected by anything. The Niners, on the other hand, obviously I'm a major Raider fan, so both of them are competition in one way or the other. But I'm not really with the Niners. I'm gonna tell you why.
Hater.
Lynch is their general manager.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Lynch is their general manager. He got that job because of some kind of nepotism. He was a safety for Tampa Bay, and all of a sudden he has this great job. Then the head coach, his dad, sued Mr. Davis for some kind of loss of pay or something, Shanahan. There's another Nepo baby right there. Then you got McCaffrey. His dad played for for Denver for years and was a wide receiver for Denver for years. And then you got Bosa, a Trump supporter at that age. Are you serious? Are you really serious at that age?
Well, okay, so you're not a Niners fan. We got news, traffic, and sports right here, Kent, but I appreciate your insights. And I know you wouldn't have let your guy get bit by a coyote. I'm just saying, if you were with a player, he probably wouldn't have been even at the lake. News, traffic, and sports, and then more on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Nevada Republicans are rejecting Nikki Haley. Haley lost the Nevada Republican presidential primary on Tuesday, even though frontrunner Donald Trump was not on the ballot. So instead, NBC News says GOP voters chose the option none of these candidates over Haley. No delegates were up for grabs in the primary. Trump is expected to win Thursday's Republican caucuses in Nevada, where 26 delegates will be up for grabs. Olympic champion gymnast Gabby Douglas is returning to competition for the first time in nearly 8 years. The African-American gymnast said Tuesday she'll be competing later this month at the Winter Cup in Louisville, Kentucky. It's the first step on the road to qualifying for the 2024 Paris Olympics. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate, not one based on anyone else. So if you drive safely, you could save money. Good to know. Visit allstate.com or call for a quote today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers will go into tonight's home game against New Orleans with the best record in the Western Conference. At 34-15, the Clippers are a half game ahead of Oklahoma City, Minnesota, and Denver. OKC and Minnesota lost last night to move the Clippers into the top spot in the West. The Clippers are coming off a 6-1 road trip. They are 15-3 since January 1st and 19 games over 500 for the first time since April 11, 2021. Tip-off time tonight is 7 p.m. on ESPN. The Lakers are off until Thursday night against Denver at Crypto.com. Top 5 women's college basketball teams in this week's AP poll: South Carolina, Iowa, North Carolina State, Colorado, and Ohio State. UCLA is 9th, USC 10th. Top 5 men's teams: UConn, Purdue, North Carolina, Kansas, and Houston. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Got me a damn girl on my team.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe we have the best tag team in morning radio. Dominique DiPrima and Tavis Smiley. As the first black woman in Los Angeles to anchor a morning drive talk radio show, Dominique covers local politics like a blanket. Weekday mornings from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. At 9 a.m., Dominique passes the baton to Tavis Smiley, who talks to everybody about everything every day until 12 noon. KBLA's dynamic duo, Dominique and Tavis. It's no wonder the LA Civil Rights Department is honoring Dominique DiPrima this year at its Tell Our Story honoring black journalist leaders and storytellers event, Thursday, February 8th. Or that the John M. Langston Bar Association of Los Angeles is honoring Tavis Smiley at its 47th Annual Installation and Scholarship Awards Gala with its Community Impact Award on February 10th. We couldn't be more proud of Dominique and Tavis, who make black history every day, not just in February. If you're missing Dominique and Tavis weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Holla, yeah.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Listen up, City of Los Angeles renters that live in rent-controlled units. Landlords can now increase your rent by 4%. Know these 3 facts. The rent increase is allowed February 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024. An extra 1% per utility up to 6% can be added if the landlord pays the entire gas and electric bill. And illegal rent increase complaints can be filed at housing.lacity.org. Check if you live in a rent-controlled unit and learn more at housing.lacity.org. Be informed, be protected, be at home.
We all agree that America has a very serious problem.
Okay, KBLA delegation, we need your help as we launch our 2024 Climate Justice Campaign. We would deeply appreciate you going to our KBLA 1580 website and filling out a short climate justice survey, which will help us better serve our beloved community as we build out this campaign. It'll take you just a few short minutes to complete the online survey, and the information you provide us will be invaluable as we do our part to hold folk accountable and amplify the voices of our people in this climate conversation. When you take the survey, you'll be automatically entered to win seats at our annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 29th. So, hit our website at KBLA 1580. Help us out by taking the short climate justice campaign survey, and you could be our guest at our annual Black History Month luncheon, Thursday, February 29th. Thank you in advance for your consideration and cooperation. At KBLA Talk 1580, we care about the community, we care about the climate. We care about the climate. This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
And it is that time again. We are doing everything we can to get ready for this election. Your election information station, my ballot came yesterday, my mail-in ballot, so it is on. And one of the, important races on the ballot this year is the California State Senate District 35. Candidate for that position here in studio with me right now, if you want to check her out on YouTube. She grew up in a union household, later became a member of AFSCME. She's a mom and a grandmother. She served as External Affairs Manager for the California Department of Justice and California Attorney General Rob Bonta. She served as a Compton City Councilmember and worked for Congress members Janice Hahn and Diane Watson. Michelle Chambers, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me this morning.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
To be here.
It's great to have you in. So let's talk about this. This is the seat that's being vacated by Steve Bradford, who is termed out. So let's start with the Bradford portfolio. How do you feel about reparations?
Oh, I absolutely support reparations. And having working for the Office of the Attorney General, of course, who was over that report, I had front seat to some of the backgrounds of the preparing of the report. And I do see that we definitely do reparations, and I definitely support reparations. And I'm excited to be part of that Senate Congress that will look at what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, you that means you don't have to get up to speed on it in the Attorney General's office.
That is correct.
You would be familiar. And I've had a lot of people calling saying they're a little disappointed with the first round of legislation. People really want to see movement on cash payments. They want to see movement on other things. How do you see that?
Well, they just released a report, their first piece of legislation on that just this month. But I support cash payments. I support property. I support free education. I think it's going to take all of us to come to that consensus, right, and see what that looks like. But also, we want to include the community. So I think we should have more community dialogue on what this looks like, get some more meat and potatoes into this now that we're moving forward with the policy piece. I think we should look at what that looks like and be transparent about it. Let's be honest about it. We don't want people to think that everybody's getting this big windfall. We don't want everybody to think that they're getting 50 acres, down the street. We want to be honest and say, hey, this is what this looks like. What is it that you want? And why can't we have both?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why can't we have money and property or free education?
Yeah, I don't think there's a reason why we can't. I can tell you've been campaigning. Your voice doesn't usually sound like this. We talked when you ran for the city council. We've talked in between because you were a victim of racist attacks or hate attacks.
Absolutely.
In the city council. Why, it's a contentious time in politics. Yeah. Why step up and seek the Senate seat?
Actually, I was sought to seek the Senate seat. I was approached by some women's organizations in Sacramento, as well as the incumbent, Senator Steve Bradford, asked that I represent him, that I succeed him in Senate District 35, which is an honor and a blessing in itself. So I'm really honored and I'm thankful that other organizations looked at me, and then more importantly, the incumbent felt that I was experienced enough, how much I love this district, and supported me in succeeding him.
Yeah, and Steve Bradford is a straight shooter for sure, Senator Bradford. So what did you think when he came and said, "Hey, you want to run for my seat?"
He said, "You ready?"
Yeah, well, that's what he said. You ready?
Okay. He said, "You ready?" And I said, "I'm ready." I said, "Let's go."
Okay, so let's talk about that. What makes you feel that you're ready?
Well, I have over 30 years of government experience, but I'm the only candidate that's represented this entire district for 15 consecutive years. I have relationships in this community, from Inglewood all the way down to San Pedro. I'm the only candidate that's worked in multiple levels of government representing this district, from Congress to Assembly to county and the Attorney General's office, and as an elected official myself. And if anyone knows this district, it is me. If anyone has the relationships in these communities, it is me. And why the community trusts me to run and represent them is because I show up. I am consistent, I'm approachable, I'm effective, I'm responsive, and they know that I deliver. So that's why I'm the most qualified candidate to run for this seat.
When you think about what you'd like to get done, I'm sure you have a few, not just issues but policies that you're thinking. I hope that I can go to the state house and do this. What are those?
I hope I can go to the State House and make an impact of our unhoused residents in our community. I really want to make a difference there. I want to build affordable housing. I want to address the mental health and those suffering with mental health and substance abuse in our community. On my way here, I got a little delayed because a young lady was laying out in the street. You can clearly see that there were some issues there. And I pulled over and just tried to, let her know this is dangerous, that they're coming out of the street. But these are the issues in our community that I want to address first in Sacramento, is our unhoused and those suffering with mental health and substance abuse.
Do you support the governor's approach on the care courts?
I do. I do support the care courts. As a matter of fact, I've been working with care courts for a very long time in the city of Compton with Judge Karen Ackerson Golf. We have a sex trafficking issue in the community of Compton. And that's one of the issues that she helped bring on some collaborators and partners in addressing sex trafficking, making that part of that court, mental health, those suffering, those homeless and veterans. And so I've already have my teeth in that realm, and working with her for our community really makes me already ahead of the curve. So yes, absolutely would I be in Sacramento championing for care courts.
So when you talk about a version of a care court that's happening in Compton, give me an example of the kind of thing you might do.
Well, of course, you're talking about as far as in the care court?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. What I would do is I would have opened up, I would look at building more safe housing for those girls being sex trafficked. That's one of the courts that I worked in with the judge. And one of the issues are that once the young ladies are rescued, because they're out here being used, being trafficked. And there's hardly anywhere for them to go. This local. Of course, we don't want them, in the same area, but, out in the valley, that's pretty far for them to be away from their families. So I would like to build some safe havens for those ladies to get all the wraparound resources that they need. I'm assured that they're victims. We know they are victims. And not charge them with crimes, but also get them access to resources and counseling, mental health services, substance abuse services, employment opportunities, and so forth. So that is the thing that I would like to work with the judge and the care courts on.
I think almost every candidate that I've talked to in this election season says that they want to do something about the unhoused. And this is what we, the voters, want to hear. And also anyone with a heart can see what's going on the streets. But how do we get from talking about it to actually impacting it?
We get from there by making sure that we have access, resources, and funding. So we start with the funding allocations. We have to assess our tangible and intangible assets. Look at our properties that we have available, even include state properties. Look at our land use. Look at our funding resources we have now. The county just has some funding resources coming from the federal government. take an assessment of our property, our land, take assessment of our funding, but we have to include the community in this as well, making sure that we produce jobs out of building housing, making sure that those who reside in the community are affordable, able to receive that affordable housing. That's what it looks like, but also assuring that when we are building, that we take an assessment of what we have, and then make sure that we include union jobs.
Union jobs and
That's
building
right.
up those. Spoken like a union union member. All of this is against the backdrop of a tough budget year.
Absolutely.
How do you navigate that?
Well, we just seen that the preliminary budget came out in January, $63 million. We really have to, me as the senator, and my plan is to make sure, work with our other senators here, making sure we protect our progress. We have to make sure that we don't get funding cut for housing, homelessness, employment opportunities, mental health services, education, child care, etc. So when we look at the budget, there's going to be cuts somewhere. We understand that, but we have to make sure that we protect our budget for our community as well.
Talking with Michelle Chambers, a former Compton City Councilmember, and you've heard a union member and much more. She's running for Senate, State Senate. Number 35 is the district, and continuing the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Do you have both Medi-Cal and Medicare?
If so, the new LA Care plan called Medicare Plus can help you get the most out of your health plan for $0.
LA Care provides personalized service to Angelinos like us.
Plus, it gives us access to doctors and specialists across Los Angeles County.
For zero cost, we get access to full benefits.
From vision coverage,
in-home support services,
to prescription drug coverage,
and a quarterly over-the-counter allowance.
plus personal equipment.
Meal programs,
a gym membership,
and so much more.
For more than 25 years,
LA Care has provided Angelinos with access to quality health care at an affordable cost.
For our families,
our seniors,
our community,
it's a plus.
It's a plus
for all of us.
A psoriasis flare-up can make a walk in the park, well, no walk in the park.
It's that obvious, huh? I've tried so many lotions and creams, but I still have symptoms.
So those don't do enough to treat the inflammation beneath the skin, leaving you with those uncontrolled symptoms.
Makes sense, but what else can I do?
You can get real with your dermatologist so they can help you get clear. Make an appointment and, you're already on it.
Hi, yes, I'd like to make an appointment.
Get real clear about psoriasis at letsgetrealclear.com. Sponsored by
At
AbbVie.
Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin ultra strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
The new year's here. Time for a change. Start with a recession-resistant new career in the high-demand fields of IT, cybersecurity, and AI with My Computer Career in just months. Already in IT? Build your cybersecurity skills and prep for thousands of open positions employers nationwide are desperate to fill. Attend classes live online or on campus. Make this your year. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. That's mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill.
Hello, I'm John McKinney, your candidate for District Attorney. As an African American who has served our community for over 25 years, I'm proud to have successfully convicted the killer of Nipsey Hussle, standing up for justice where it matters most. But my commitment extends beyond the courtroom. I'm deeply invested in youth development. And when it comes to our police, I believe in accountability. It is essential that those who protect us are also responsible to us, reflecting the values and integrity of our community. This election, I ask for your vote. I am John McKinney, and I'm running to be your district attorney. Learn more at McKinneyforLA.com.
Paid for by John McKinney for LA District Attorney 2024.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, we're talking with Michelle Chambers. She is seeking your vote for State Senate District 35, a crowded field in which 3 black women are among the contenders. And one guy who I I don't know. I think he's Latino. I'm not sure. We haven't talked to him yet. All have been invited. I guess you could say this is bad because it's black women pitted against each other, or you could say it's good because it shows we have a diversity of opinion and a diversity of experience.
Well, I would say I think it's the diversity and experience. But again, I'm the only qualified candidate to succeed to win in this race to represent the 35th Senate District, and I think that's what matters. We have to look at all the candidates, not just the women and the men, but look at all of them and see who's the best representation for you and your family.
And of course, if nobody gets 50% plus one, there will be a runoff in November, which seems pretty likely. You've got a ton of endorsements, and one of the reasons that made me pivot to the black women, 3 black women in this race, is that you have a lot of endorsements by black women. State Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas, Assemblymember Tina McKinnon, Supervisor Holly Mitchell, and more, and also union endorsements, which of course, LA County Fed. That doesn't surprise me since you're a union member by background. But what do you think is what are you most proud of these endorsements and trend lines?
I am most proud that they find that I'm the qualified candidate to pass policy alongside of them. That is important, and just not the black women. I have Latino women, I have men, I have majority of all the legislatures in this race, and it really, really sends a message and a sign to the community and the voters that we want Michelle Chambers to legislate alongside of us. She's qualified, she delivers, she's honest. I lead with integrity and a moral compass. And that's what they need in Sacramento, and that's what they want. And it's important that we have these relationships. On the campaign trail, you'll hear, other candidates say, well, endorsements don't matter. Endorsements does matter. It really plays a role because it also shows that these legislatures find you more qualified to pass policy with them.
Right. It tells us a little bit about where a person stands. We were talking on Monday. Jazz Mechanic introduced me to a new term, Pinos. I call them progressive posers, but that's progressive in name only. We've talked about this in prior campaigns and conversations, that you consider yourself a progressive.
Absolutely.
What does that mean to you?
And moving forward. Right now, we have to look how we look at policy. The times have changed. We have to make sure that we're moving forward, protecting the progress here in California, the right to reproductive freedom, making sure that we're at the table accessing assets and funding resources for our African American boys and our children here in the school districts. We have to make sure that we're inclusive in employment resources. The social economic disadvantages that we had then are not now. And as legislatures and policymakers, we have to make sure that we're at the table having these conversations, but also making sure that we deliver to our community. To progressive, to me, is moving forward, moving that needle and ensuring and taking my community with me, but also assuring that we have the resources behind that.
You're a mom.
I am.
And a grandma.
And a Grammy.
Congrats. And I'm sure you've been tracking this reporting about the setback from the lockdowns and the pandemic on education. It's bad. And the latest numbers are showing that we're not bouncing back. I thought it was interesting that Compton was a bright spot in terms of kids recovering from the learning loss of the pandemic. But it's a problem. What ideas do you have about what we ought to be doing about that on a state level?
Well, you know what? We have to remember when we talk about mental health and we talk about the stresses of life, we have to include our children in these conversations. PTSD, mental health issues are real in our youth. They really have taken a hit mentally during the pandemic. They have seen their families lose jobs. Some have lost housing. They have seen that school, they're no longer able to interact with their peers. And that does take a pressure and a toll on children. But some children are learners in person versus over online learning. So it did take a lot out of our children. But what we have to do, and I'm glad that Compton is on the bright spot. We have some great leaders over there, Dr. Ayanna Davis, Denzel Perry, and Sandra Moss, so I'm not surprised. But I do think that we really need to take a step back and remember that our children went through a rough time over these past few years and really they dig in, lean into what they really need, because it may not be just educational. They may be struggling with some home issues. And as a legislator, I make sure that we have additional funding for our students to access services, to access counseling, to access mental health services, because it is hard. It's very hard.
Yeah. I was on a call yesterday where they were getting divided between Black and Latino, and it was a call that had nothing to do with what we're talking about, but it's a challenge for our state, right? We have seen this with the LA City Council and the infighting over power that led to the demise of a couple council members and the head of the LA Fed. You yourself have been the victim of a fellow Compton council member who turned out to be a crook.
Right.
Attacking you on the basis, he was Latino, you're Black.
Yeah.
How do you, what do you take away from that in terms of what it takes to work together? If we should even be working together, do coalitions work? Is that outdated? Certainly your personal and political experience would seem to inform that conversation.
Absolutely. And he does not represent them at all. And that's what we have to remember. Just like someone in my community, a Black person who acts out in that manner does not represent me. It is my responsibility to represent everyone. Everyone
as a lawmaker.
Absolutely. Everyone with the same equality, with the kind heart. But as far as that situation is concerned, we have to mass out the evils in our community. They exist, but we cannot feed this beast. We have to lead with love and lead with integrity and unity, because we all live in this community together. I have support on both sides because I represent both sides and I treat both sides with respect. Anyone in my community, not just Black, Latino. I have a great Samoan base in the city of Carson that I'll be representing. I have a great Asian base, in certain areas that I'll be representing. And so leading with integrity and dignity is inclusive. And I will not tolerate any hate crimes in my community at all.
Your flyer, I'm holding it up,
nice.
Your mailer, it says that Michelle Chambers will fight for working families.
Absolutely.
What does that mean?
I will fight for working families to sustain. I was a working family, working mother. Childcare is expensive. Yep. The access, we have to make sure we have after-school programs, funding available for our students. We have to make sure we have programming available for our students. Working families is just that. The cost, I am an advocate for rent protections. I'm an advocate for rent subsidies, those who need help in those areas. I am an advocate for assuring that I really want to look at the daily structure of a family. What is it that keeps you up at night? I know for me, it was sustainability, food, utilities, rent, childcare, the basic things. And now with inflation, that's almost like times 3, and it's hard for working families nowadays. But I'll just make sure that I pass policies to give them a leg up and make sure that we protect our progress here in California.
And you also talk about on here about reproductive freedom.
Absolutely.
Our state has taken measures to protect a woman's right to choose. What other kinds of things can be done or should be done?
Well, we have to make sure we protect those organizations who are advocates, and thank you, Parent Parenthood, for your endorsement, but also making sure that clinics that are providing these services have been under attack around the world. We have to make sure we protect our doctors, our workers, and making sure that we provide services for the young person who is accessing these services. Again, the mental health, the stresses, the aftercare is important. It just doesn't stop at the abortion, or it doesn't stop at, any other services that they receive. There's still trauma after that because you don't know what happened to get them into that position. Whether it was willingly or not, there's still trauma. So we have to protect the person all the way around with wraparound services, and that's what that is, reproductive freedom, having the right to choose, making sure that we have policies that put in place that protect them and to protect those who are providing the services, but also make sure we protect them afterwards.
Time flies when you're on the radio. Michelle Chambers, give us your elevator pitch. Why should we vote Michelle Chambers, Senate District 35?
Thank you for having me this morning. You should definitely vote Michelle Chambers to represent you in the California State Senate. Again, I have over 30 years of governmental experience. I'm the only candidate who's been representing this entire community for over 15 years consecutively. The only candidate that is endorsed by the incumbent, Senator Steve Bradford. I represent you with integrity. I'm effective and responsive. I am your senator. I not only are the endorsed investment's important, that matters, but also you want a senator to deliver resources to you and your family and to your community. Access to affordable health care, access to affordable housing, job creation and retention. We must provide more livable wages here in the state of California, and mental health and substance abuse funding resources to address that. And so I am that only candidate that is qualified, and also the only candidate that has your best interest in mind and at heart. And I will take that with me here in the district and in Sacramento. I'm number 2 on your ballot. Again, I'm Michelle Chambers, and I'm your state senator for District 35.
And tell us where to find out more about you or follow you on socials.
Please follow me. You can follow my website at Michelle for California, Michelle FORCALIFORNIA.com. And on my socials is Chambers, the number 4, CA Senate. Again, Michelle for California.com and Chambers, the number 4, CA Senate. And again, thank you for working through my voice today. I've been doing a lot of talking, phone banking, walking.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's rough.
It's rough, but it's wonderful to see you, Michelle Chambers, and good luck on your quest to be the next state senator.
Thank you for having me this morning. It's always great to be here. Thank you, KBLA.
News, traffic, and sports, then more on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Nevada Republicans are rejecting Nikki Haley. Haley lost the Nevada Republican presidential primary on Tuesday, even though frontrunner Donald Trump was not on the ballot. So instead, NBC News says GOP voters chose the option none of these candidates over Haley. No delegates were up for grabs in the primary. Trump is expected to win